All right, so Sky News Australia is out here praising Greece for going savage on illegal immigration. Finally, my country exports something good besides feta cheese and government debt. Officially, Greece is locked down harder than your grandma's Wi-Fi password. And before you start clutching at your pearls, no, those aren't refugee families fleeing war. These are boatloads of military-aged men who somehow lose their passports but never lose their phones. They don't want to be in Greece or Turkey or Jordan. They want Germany's welfare. They want Britain's housing. So let's dive into this clown fiesta.
Policies that suspend. The Greek island of Crete is the envy of Europe right now, not because of its beautiful beaches and delicious food, but because it has gone since the end of July without a single illegal migrant boat arrival. According to The Sun, the sharp decline in new illegal immigrant arrivals came after the Greek government implemented hardline policies that suspended all new asylum claims from North Africa and vowed to arrest anyone entering illegally.
Wow, look at that. Turns out deterrence actually works. It's like, who knew? You can say no and boats suddenly did stop appearing. Meanwhile, Brussels think they can solve the immigration with yoga retreats and tolerance seminars. But we basically said if you try to sneak in, you're arrested. Revolutionary idea, right? This isn't rocket science. This isn't even bottle rocket science. This is Merkel rolling in her grave. Oh wait, she's not dead, but she was always dead inside.
Greece's immigration minister spoke on the issue in Copenhagen last month with a group of EU ministers, and it seems his stern words followed through into action.
The return of illegal migrants should be our first priority. Our message must be clear. If you enter Europe illegally or your asylum application is rejected, you have no right to stay in Europe and you must go back.
Deputy Mayor of
You must go back, Okay, so his accent may be a bit trash, but his political message is plain and simple. You sneak in, you have to go back, period. And here's the thing. These guys all dump their passports at the sea like it's an Olympic sport. Because if you have no papers, suddenly you're 17 years old and Syrian, even though you look like you're 32 and you have a full beard with a hairline that has already lost the war. My prediction, in 5 years from now, EU governments will issue starter packs at the border, a passport shredder, an iPhone charger, and a pamphlet on how to fake cry for asylum interviews.
Crete Eleni Zervadaki told The Sun, "Our new policy is for illegal people to be arrested and they are not allowed to apply for asylum." A turning point came on July 6 when 2,000 migrants landed and there were so many boats from Libya we had to find a response. The majority, about 900 at the peak, were held in this building. Locals were stressed and afraid. We are a tourist island, and of course there were concerns about what would happen if the asylum seekers continued to come.
Yeah, Greece survives and thrives on tourism. Imagine trying to sell sun, sand and stabbings on a tourism brochure. Locals don't want their islands to turn into a 2.0. Imagine you're booking a honeymoon in Crete and you found out that the resort also doubles as a holding pen for 900 dudes who are all named Muhammad and who all just turned 17. Would you go there? Of course not. Airbnb would probably start listing bunk beds inside the Amygdaleza detention camp. Rustic, authentic Greek experience. 4 stars, don't come.
And Greece's foreign minister sees this as more than just stopping illegal immigrants from entering Greece. These measures are stopping illegal immigrants from entering Europe more broadly.
Look, show me one family, show me one woman or one child. Nothing. It's all military-aged men.
Αυτό που συμβαίνει αυτή τη στιγμή από και τη Λιβύη δεν είναι ομαλή μεταναστευτική ροή, είναι μια επιχείρηση εισβολής προς την Ευρώπη.
That's exactly
Greece's
what it
government
is.
crackdown on
Look.
illegals comes after Donald Trump was very vocal in his criticism
We are the first line of defense against illegal immigration into Europe. We are the first and last bouncer of Europe. And while the Chancellor of Germany wants to sip champagne, we're outside here wrestling dudes in the sand. But don't worry, Germany will be inside handing welcome tickets.
of Europe's handling of illegal immigration during his recent trip to the UK.
Europe is a much different place than it was just 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And they've got to get their act together. If they don't, you're not going to have Europe anymore as you know it.
Yeah,
You can't do that. This is a magnificent part of the world, and you
look at
cannot
him,
ruin
look at
it.
this
And
weasel.
it's not only
Trump isn't wrong here, you know. Europe is collapsing faster than Ubisoft's stock price. Knife crimes are through the roof, grooming gangs operate with impunity, and SA cases get buried under political correctness. Europeans thought they were importing workers, but instead we have imported crime waves. Congratulations, you played yourself. And next time, maybe we should import some plumbers instead of predators.
Donald Trump calling out Europe. Europeans have taken to the streets over the past few weeks and months,
Yeah.
particularly in the UK, to protest this very
Britons have had enough, and I wish them all the best in reclaiming their country.
issue.
Well, it's not only Donald Trump who's calling it out, it's ordinary citizens in these countries.
Yes.
In Britain, there has been a huge controversy this week because in a small town, they had been putting in migrants who'd come across the channel into these accommodation centers and giving them food, shelter, hot meals, welfare, legal aid, legal representation, while there's 1 million people waiting for housing in Britain. Britons say, well, enough of this. But it gets worse because in this one particular town, one of them, a migrant from Ethiopia, allegedly committed a sexual assault on a teenage girl there 8 days after he'd arrived in the country. Well, I mean, fine, allegedly, but whatever. This has gotten the locals furious. And the police and the media have decided they're going to portray anybody who protests about this as being right-wing, far-right, Nazis, all of that. And it got so bad that the British police bust in and gave police escorts to left-wing protesters to counter-protest against the locals who are furious that their town is being used as a dumping ground for people who have come across the channel. Now, we saw that vision the other week of, some French cops, putting knives into the whaler boats that were going to take them across to deflate.
Good, and this one blows my mind. First of all, a town gets forced to house immigrants while 1 million Brits are sitting on housing lists. And what happens 8 days later? An alleged essay of a teenage girl. 8 days, And when the locals protest, the cops don't protect them. They escort paid Antifa protesters into the town to scream in their faces. Imagine getting your daughter assaulted and then being told you're a Nazi for being upset. This is absolute clown world. My prediction is that within a year, UK police uniforms will come with rainbow armbands and sorry for your lost vouchers. This is absolutely disgraceful.
But you know what? I think that we're getting past time for more kinetic solutions to this here.
But whilst
Getting past time for more kinetic whaler boats that were, some French cops, putting knives into the whaler boats that were going to take them across to deflate them. But you know what?
France is actually found the use for their police and military. Pop the dinghy, not a problem. Honestly, I'm shocked Macron hasn't turned this into an art performance yet. But give it time, the way things are going, the EU will probably mandate free Uber rides across the channel next. First rides on Ursula von der Leyen, what's her name?
I think that we're getting past time for more kinetic solutions to this here.
But whilst Trump and concerned citizens are speaking out, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been criticised for his confused messaging on the issue.
Joining me now is the author of groundbreaking works, international bestsellers, including The Strange Death of Europe, The Madness of Crowds, The War on the West, and his latest on democracies and death cults. Douglas Murray, let's start in the UK, where Keir Starmer is talking tough. He is going to smash the gang.
How did Keir Starmer even get elected? He looks and talks like a fucking weasel.
He's going to stop the illegal immigration crisis. We've heard this talk from the PM before. How serious is this policy and how likely is it to succeed?
Well, it's very unlikely to succeed at the moment. He seems to be trumpeting a deal he's done with French President Emmanuel Macron for a so-called one in, one out policy. It's not clear to me or to the British public, I think, why, if hundreds of people are managing to pour in every day to the UK, you should trumpet a sort of occasionally you'll get one person back out policy. But the main thing is the obsession that the government has with smashing the gangs. It's very typical politicking, this. It suggests that the problem of illegal migration is simply that of the people smuggling gangs. And that's very useful for a left-wing government like Labour, because it presents it as if there's no harm done by the illegal migrant. It is merely the criminal gangs who bring them into the country who are the problem, as if these are like press gangs of the Royal Navy in the.
But nobody has problems with legal migration. Everybody has problems with the vast majority of illegal migration.
18th century, sort of rushing around the streets, gathering migrants from the north of France and forcing them onto boats to begin a new life in the UK. That isn't the case. The people smuggling gangs are part of the problem, but they're not themselves the problem. They're just one part of it. The problem is that the government wants to put no onus on the people who knowingly are illegally entering the UK. And that's because they want to always cling to this idea that the illegal migrant is always an asylum seeker, somebody with a legitimate claim to be breaking into the country. And that simply isn't the case. It's just politicking on their part and a desire to never blame the people who are actually the ones coming into the country breaking the law.
You know, when even Douglas Murray, the guy who wrote The Strange Death of Europe, is like, yeah, you're dying faster than expected. Maybe it's time to listen, you know, but nah, Britain would rather build more asylums than, hospitals. And the government acts like gangs kidnap random people off the French coast and force them onto boats and tell them good luck, see you in Dover. No, these dudes pay thousands for a ticket. They know exactly what they're doing. It's not kidnapping, it's a luxury cruise with taxpayer-funded welfare waiting at the other end. And so if they were, think about it this way, right? If they were real refugees, they would be staying in Turkey or Jordan, countries that are right next door. But no, they sprint across 6 borders just to land in Birmingham. Apparently, the refugee instinct kicks in, especially when there's free housing and Wi-Fi. But what can you do? Germany wants to eventually rename itself to Asylum Land and sell EU-wide passes to freeloaders. So yeah, there you have it. Greece is locking the door. Sky News is uploading and EU is still busy arguing whether deporting criminals is racist. Britain is handing out hotels like Opera because of Keir Starmer's policies. You get a room, and you get a room, and you get welfare, and you get free legal aid, and you get to essay a child. Europe has imported chaos, and now it's acting shocked when it actually is getting chaos. At this rate, your local pub will turn into a Sharia court before Brussels even notices. So subscribe before the EU sues me for not offering asylum to McDonald's Wi-Fi refugees. Trust me, it's gonna come eventually.